This is MRN Crew Call, brought to you by Hercules Tires.
Winning combinations in NASCAR. That's what every team is looking for. A driver-crew chief combination that can take a team to victory lane and take a team to championship. So the sport's been filled with some great combinations. It goes all the way to the top with Richard Petty and Dale Inman. And we had Ray Evernham and Jeff Gordon and Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson. Those were great combinations. When we look at the current crop of drivers and crew chiefs, well, we've got a great combination that is putting up some pretty stout numbers as well. I'm Steve Post. This is MRN's Crew Call, presented by Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength. Rodney Childers, a 45-year-old from Mooresville, North Carolina, is the crew chief for Kevin Harvick on that number 4 car over at Stewart-Haas Racing. Their numbers, while maybe down a little bit this year, overall are very impressive. 35 wins. 5 times they've made championship 4 appearances, and they are the 2014 Cup Series champion. In fact, of all of the driver crew chief combinations, they are the most successful that compete, and they compete very, very well at a high level. They've got a little work to do this year, but I am confident that that crew chief, based on their past experience, can get that work done and maybe just make it back to Phoenix again. So that's the plan for Crew Call. We're going to talk with Rodney Childers.
For decades, Dryden Lubricants has been made in America and made to last, paving the way on our highways, in our fields, and on the production line. Today, Dryden offers a complete line of engine oils, greases, hydraulic and transmission fluids, and diesel exhaust fluid. If you want greater performance and protection for your critical engines and equipment, go to Dryden.com. Dryden, American-owned and operated, and a proud supporter of racing and race fans everywhere. Flow Racing is the home of grassroots racing, with over 1,300 races streaming live in 2021. Watch the Lucas Oil Chili Bowl, World 100, Dirt Late Model Dreams, Sweet 16, and much, much more. Subscribe today by going to flowracing.com/MRN. From sprint cars on dirt to SK Modifieds on pavement, arena cross, drag racing, and everything in between, it's here live and on demand. Subscribe today by going to flowracing.com/MRN. That's FLOracing.com/MRN.
Motor Racing Network's Crew Call, presented by Hercules Tires, continues on, and joining us from over at Stewart-Haas Racing, Rodney Childers. Hello, Rodney. Welcome into Crew Call.
Hey there. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's always good to catch up with you, whether it's in the garage or here via the Zoom call as we're doing. Rodney, I was very happy to read, I think it was on Sunday, that looks like you're going to be around for a while at Stewart-Haas Racing. Congratulations. Has to be nice to get that all buttoned up and put together.
Yeah, it does. Sometimes when you have a bad year, you wonder about things like that. There's been some weeks I wondered if I wasn't going to get fired, but overall, it's been a great 8 years here at Stewart-Haas Racing. It's the longest I've ever been anywhere in my life. So, it's been a good time, and we've won a lot of races and done a lot of cool stuff together. And, hopefully we can continue that in the future.
35 races, a championship, a lot of Final Four appearances. It has been a good run. Rodney, what is it about Stewart-Haas Racing that just seems to work well for you and you for them?
I was just telling somebody yesterday this. I've never really liked being micromanaged. And, from the day I walked in here, I've never been micromanaged. And I get to run my team the way I want to. Nobody cares if I walk in 30 minutes late or 2 hours early, or if I leave 3 hours late or leave an hour early or whatever. There's none of that. And over 8 years, I've never turned in a vacation request to say that I wasn't going to be here a certain day or whatever. Like it's been fitting for me to just be able to do my thing and go race and control my team the way that I want to, and all those things. And the other part of it is I feel like I just have it's kind of home for me, and I have a big voice here. It's nice to be able to have a little bit of control over what you're doing and where you're headed and all those things. So, hopefully we can continue that, throughout the future. And, stay competitive and do all the things that we've been doing over the last 8 years.
One of the people that I maybe know in the garage area as well as anybody, I've done charity snowmobile rides with him, is Greg Zipadelli. And you take Greg and you take Tony Stewart. It just seems to me like you're a racer working for racers. Is that part of the appeal as well?
Yeah, for sure. They support me through thick and thin. To have a boss like Greg that he's been there, done that, right? He's done all the same things that I've done. He's won races, he's won championships, he's been through ups and downs and good years and bad years and all those things. And he's made good calls on the pit box and he's made bad calls on the pit box. And, I think he realizes that probably in his day and age, he didn't want somebody walking in his office Monday morning telling him that he did the wrong thing. We're all professionals and we all want to do our best, and we're always our own worst critics, right? So, it's, we have to try to do our best all the time. And, I think he expects that out of me, but he also knows that I'm always going to try to do that. And he doesn't have to push me to try to, persuade me to be better or to try to work harder and all those things.
Rodney, the crew chief room, if you will, or crew chief stable over at Stewart-Haas Racing, Mike Bugaravich. Of course, Mike was your engineer for a number of years, so very familiar with him. Johnny Klossmeyer and Mike Shiplet. What is the dynamic between the four of you?
Yeah, all of us get along really good. I guess going all the way back to my Evernham days, I shared the building with Mike Shiplet. He was over the Busch team at Evernham and I was over the 10 car. So our offices were side by side back then. We've known each other for a long time. He's more of an old school racer. Then you got Johnny, which was an engineer for Old Man for a long time. And he's definitely more of the engineering type. And then you got Booga, which is an engineer, but also a racer. And, he's very determined and pushes really hard. And sometimes we use him to say the things that maybe we don't want to say sometimes, but everybody gets along really well. And, we communicate well and have the same thoughts on things and kind of push in the same direction all the time.
I had forgotten the Mike Shiplet connection that you had at Evernham. I knew Booger with you and I knew Johnny with Old Man. I had forgotten about the Mike Shiplet at Evernham deal. So that way he was the one kind of me that seemed like a little bit of the outlier, if you will, but now it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and he was over our Xfinity car here at Stewart-Haas Racing. I think when he was over at Ganassi a few years ago, Joe came to me and asked me what I thought of him. And I said, well, if you can hire him, I would hire him tomorrow. And I think Joe met him that night and hired him the next day. So, they were able to go on with Cole and win a bunch of races together in the Xfinity series, and to be able to move those two up together and to have that communication before they got into Cup is pretty key. And he's got a lot of good people that work with him. His engineer is doing a great job and always has. And, they got a pretty good group right there.
You mentioned Old Man Tony Gibson. We had him on earlier this year here on Crew Call. How key is it for a team to have kind of a shop foreman like that I don't know if there's a person that has anything ever bad to say about Old Man. How pivotal is he in all of it when you guys are giving him instructions and he's working with everyone on the floor? How key is that?
It's key for the whole company, to be honest with you. His experience over the years is, of leading race teams and his communication with drivers and other crew chiefs and officials and all those things. But he's also, he's key in keeping things running here, but he's also key in keeping us on track in a way. Like sometimes it's easy to get off track going one way or another. And he's like, I'm not so sure about that. I think y'all need to rethink that or whatever. But, he's just easy to get along with, easy to communicate with, and seems to, just always have the crew chief's backs when it comes to, what we're doing and how we're going. And, and just a lot of fun to be around and all that stuff here at the shop.
Yeah, no doubt. Old man's always good. Rodney, when I want to take this all the way back. I was reading somewhere, and I was not aware of this. You came from a family, you're in Mooresville, North Carolina, come from a family that did not have a racing background. You found yourself at a go-kart race and fell in love with go-karts. Your mom, who quilted, raised money through that to buy you a go-kart for Christmas. Is that indeed is that the case?
Yeah, for sure. My brother had just got into, he wanted electric guitar the year before for Christmas, and he had got into playing guitar and singing and doing all those things. And he was kind of wanting to be in a rock band when he grew up. And like you said, I ended up over in Lincolnton at a go-kart track a couple times and just fell in love with it and asked my parents for a racing go-kart for Christmas. And it was kind of odd that, how it all played out, like my dad, he sold cars all the time. He worked on the weekends, and my mom was making custom quilts, and she sold one fancy quilt that she had been working on for a year straight to a lady in Charlotte. And I think she could have bought like 3 go-karts with what she got for that one quilt, but she went and got me a go-kart for Christmas. And we were able to kind of get it ready to go. And she took me to Millbridge by herself, the first time. And she cranked me up. She helped me prep my tires. She helped me do everything. So there's, she's been right there. If I was at a racetrack, she was there. And that continued all the way till, gosh, I was 20 years old, probably even longer than that, 23, 24. If I was at a racetrack, she was there. So, she did a lot for me in those early days, for sure.
What a special deal that is. I mean, that's a great relationship. One of the chapters in your early career was late model stock racing, and you raced around here locally. How important was that? I guess at the time you were looking, you wanted to be a driver, correct? That was what the game plan was.
Yeah, it was. My goal, growing up was definitely to be the next Jeff Gordon or the next, Tony Stewart, the next this, the next that. One person I admired a lot was Matt Kenseth. I felt like that he and I were kind of alike in the sense that we wanted to know a lot about the cars and our demeanor when we were at the racetrack, the way we acted and all that kind of thing. And so that's really what I wanted to do. And I felt like I fought pretty hard to do that, but I wasn't the type to go out there and talk to companies and go after sponsorships and do all those types of things. But, the late model stock part of it was probably the most fun I ever had. Those cars are just so much fun to drive, very easy to burn the tires off. And, a place like Hickory and Myrtle Beach and, Concord and Caraway and Greenville Pickens, all those places, we raced at a lot. And, if it was a 150 lap race, you could burn the right rear off down to the cords in 70 laps if you weren't careful. So it taught me a lot about, how to conserve tires and how to be there at the end of it and take care of stuff. And just some awesome racing. I still keep up with all the late model stock stuff. I still talk to those guys every week. I still secretly help some of them that ask for help, and hopefully I can see some of them run good this weekend in Martinsville.
Yeah, I'm going to get to Martinsville, but there's a story that I also read that the guy that got you started in late model stock racing, he had a kid that wanted to race, and I think you put a deal together with him where you could drive one of the cars, but you had to do all the mechanical work, which kind of introduced you to what your career would be, right?
Yeah, for sure. The first year he wanted to, we were both racing go-karts, and then he wanted to buy a late model stock car. And so he bought a late model stock car for me to drive, and he bought an Allison Legacy car for his son to drive. And just so happens I got crew chief of the year in the Allison Legacy series the first year that we ran it, and we won a ton of races in that deal. And then I had ran I think 7 or 8 races in that late model stock car toward the end of that year. And Didn't do great. I run 7th or 8th at most of them. And looking back on it now, I had no clue what I was doing with that thing. It was all rolled over. It looked like a boat going around the corner. But, I learned a lot that first year with it. And then we showed up the next year. We got another car for him to run late models too. And we kind of made a deal to where I would run on Friday nights at Tri-County and he would run on Saturday nights at Concord. That way we never raced against each other. It kind of gave me free time to, keep up with both of them and crew chief both of them. And, that next year was awesome. We showed up the first race at Tri-County. We sat on the pole. We led all 150 laps and we ended up winning, I think, 11 races at Tri-County and 10 at Concord that year. So we won 21 races between the two of us. And I think we won about 23 poles between the two of us at both the tracks. So it was a ton of fun. We both learned a lot. And like you said, that's kind of what led me to realize that I enjoyed crew chiefing on those cars. And I enjoyed watching him win as much as I enjoyed myself winning. And from there on, I kind of had in the back of my mind that I could do both. And so that's kind of where, that's what led me to where I'm at today.
I spent some time at Concord. Who was your driver over there?
Clayton Rogers.
Oh, okay. My gosh, I saw him win. Yeah, I saw him win a lot of races there. I hadn't put that together. So what a great racer he is, man.
Yeah, we won a lot of races. And then, even as I started to move up a little bit, I was continuing to help him. And we won the big $65,000 race over there like 2 years after that.
Right.
That was pretty awesome. And we won the Big 10 race over there with the super late model. We did a lot of cool things together. We won quite a few Hooters races together and just all kinds of stuff. But, crew chiefing for him is definitely what led me to where I'm at.
I was doing TV on that $65,000 race that he won. I think I did the Victory Lane interview. That is, I had not put that together. That's neat stuff. That's for sure. You mentioned late model stock racing. I do some stuff with the Cars Tour. I do some of their television programs and get the late model stock racing around here. And then Motor Racing Network will have the call this Saturday night here for the Valley Star 300. Boy, I am telling you, that is a tough field of cars and just a great series of race cars, Rodney.
Yeah, it is, and it always has been. Even when I race late model stock cars, there would be anywhere from 80 to 120 cars show up at Martinsville for that race every year. And, it's always a tough field. And, the cars are so close together. If you wait till qualifying Saturday afternoon and you look at the top 20 in qualifying, you'll be like, holy cow, they're all within like 0.2 of a second in the top 20. They'll all be that close together. I remember last year keeping up with it while they were up there, and I think it was like the top 12 were within 1/10 of a second of each other. So it's just super competitive. Everybody's really close to each other, and all the good guys bring all their good stuff, and it's a good race for sure.
Who do we need to keep an eye on? I'm going to be in the MRN booth. I need a little insight here. Who do you think might have a pretty good shot at that one?
Well, I think as good as what Josh Berry's car looked last year, if he's planning on running it, which I'm not sure if he is or not, but his car was amazing last year. He could do whatever he wanted. And then, all the normals, I think you'll have, a lot of the Cars Tour guys there, Bobby McCarty and Timothy Peters. And, there's so many of them that will probably be up there. But, and some of the younger guys, I can't hardly keep up with anymore. And, but there's a lot of good ones out there, and I'm sure it's going to be really competitive for sure.
That was the thing. I was working on my notes, and I cannot believe, particularly South Boston. South Boston, you had Peyton Sellers, who won everything again and is leading the national points. But beyond him, it was like, I think 2nd through 7th were all kids and ran good and won some races. Just Josh Berry actually was entered into it and then got the ride in the one car out in Las Vegas. So he's not going to be there, probably to the relief of many late model stock racers, because he's awful good around that place.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, let's fast forward into the presents here. The round of 12. You've got a little work to do. You're at the back of the round of 12, but you're in the round of 12. Just kind of assess where you guys are at, the progress you're making as we enter this round of Vegas, Talladega, and the Roval.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be an interesting round. This is always the toughest round for anybody that's in the playoffs. With having Talladega in there, you kind of need to win one of those other two races to feel good about Talladega. But on the other side of it, our super speedway stuff has been the strongest thing we've got this year. And, all the super speedway races we've had one of the very best cars, and we look forward to going to Talladega. The Roval has been a little up and down for us. In 18 we ran good, 19 we ran good. Last year we had rain during the first part of the race, and I'd never done that. Kevin had never done that. So we were kind of a little bit out to lunch trying to figure out how to do that. But, I think we can go there and be competitive, though. Hopefully it'll be dry and, have a lot more confidence when it's dry for sure. But, this weekend at Vegas, we feel like we're taking a good car, and I know the engine shop has done a lot of work trying to get a little bit better, and hopefully we can go out there and be competitive. It's going to be really hot and slick, and hopefully we can get the balance right and have a good handling race car and be there at the end of it.
Well, we certainly wish you the best. We'll be following along all weekend long. Our friends at PRN have the coverage out at Las Vegas. Rodney, always appreciate the time, appreciate the insight into the late model stuff, so I can go up there and sound a little bit better, like I know what I'm talking about. But always just appreciate the time you give us, whether in the garage or here on Crew Call. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
There we go. Rodney Childers, crew chief over at Stewart Haas Racing, for Kevin Harvick, joining us on Crew Call.
Citywide to countryside, whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules has the value, selection, and industry-leading warranty to get you there no matter where the road takes you. Go to HerculesTires.com. There you can find the nearest authorized Hercules retail location to you. Plus, you can use the tire tracker to find out which Hercules tire fits your vehicle the best. That's HerculesTires.com. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
Sir, are you aware you were going 40 miles an hour? This is a residential area.
Sure, but I'm on my lawnmower? Wait, am I getting a ticket?
No, I've just never seen anyone top 9 miles an hour on one of those bad boys. And mow their entire lawn in 30 seconds? What got into you?
Well, it did fuel up at Sunoco this morning.
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. We've been doing it for American racing for over 50 years. Fuel your best.
Ford has put the stock back in stock car, and now you can register for your chance to be Ford Performance's VIP guest and watch the NASCAR Next Gen Mustang hit the track for the first time in 2022. One grand prize winner and their guest will receive a trip for two to Daytona Beach with VIP access, Ford Performance driver meet and greets, round-trip airfare, and more. Register now through November 7th at FordNextGen.com. That's FordNextGen.com.
Ford Motor Company is investing $22 billion on electrification between now and 2025. Ford is investing in battery and battery cell technology. They have established the Ford Ion Park Global Battery Center in Southeast Michigan, where they will use state-of-the-art equipment and that will allow Ford to quickly scale breakthroughs in battery technology. Ford has also increased their investment in Solid Power. Now, Solid Power is an industry-leading producer of all solid-state batteries for electric vehicles. This will be showing promise to them as far as power, longer range capability, lower the cost, and to produce safer electric vehicles. You can find out more by going to Ford.com. Click on the electrification tab. That's Ford.com, the electrification tab. And coming soon, you can check it out there, is the all-new, all-electric 2022 Ford F-150 Lightning. It's the first ever F-Series that's gas-free and delivers trusted built Ford Tough capabilities. Again, go to Ford.com and click on the electrification tab. When we look at NASCAR going forward, all three of the top series are into playoff mode now, headed to Las Vegas. The Cup Series, they are into race number 1 of the round of 12. This round, as we talked about with Rodney Childers, a challenging round. Las Vegas, a traditional 1.5-mile track. Then it gets interesting with Talladega and the Roval. Kyle Larson and his crew chief Cliff Daniels, they lead the charge into the round of 12. It's the same schedule of races for the NASCAR Xfinity Series this week in Las Vegas, and then Talladega and the Roval. It's going to be interesting to see how this one shakes out. What a battle it's been between the top two drivers, Austin Cindric and AJ Allmendinger. They are tied atop the points as the round of 12 and the playoffs overall for the Xfinity Series starts. When we look at the Truck Series, they are at the beginning of another round, the round of 8, and they are set to go. This week they will run at Las Vegas. Then next week they will run at Talladega, and then they're off until Martinsville, and that will then set their round of 4. John Hunter Nemechek at Kyle Busch Motorsports leads the way with his crew chief Eric Phillips for the tough trucks of NASCAR as they race at Las Vegas this weekend. Motor Racing Network will be at Las Vegas Motor Speedway this Friday night. It's 8:30 Eastern time. It's Victoria's Voice, the Victoria's Voice 200, presented by Westgate Resorts for the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. And then on Saturday night, MRN is in Martinsville, Virginia, Martinsville Speedway, the Valley Star Credit Union 300 for the NASCAR late model stock racers. That is going to be a dandy. Last I checked, 82 cars are entered. They're going to whittle it down to a 40-car field, and the best in the business will mix it up on the paperclip at Martinsville Speedway. You can find out all of what's happening with our schedule at mrn.com. Click on the schedule tab, and we'll even send you reminders if you choose to do so whenever we're on the air, so you can make sure you follow along with all of our programming. We appreciate Rodney Childers from joining us over at Stewart Haas Racing. More important, though, than all of that, thank you for joining us here on Crew Call, presented by Hercules Tires, right on ours.